What's up, everybody? Welcome to Clutch's Corner. Let's go ahead and get right on into it. So, starting things off with AMD, it did absolutely start off at its last price target before like the day could even get us a chance to get into it. But then it created a beautiful failed two, and that failed two is giving us a wonderful opportunity to get some puts tomorrow if it does do what it's supposed to do. So, let's go ahead and break down where these price targets are coming from. First one, it is close, but it is going to be off of a 5 minute candle here. Actually, let me just zoom into the five so you can see where everything was and why I did it on the five. Right? That'll make sense. So if you look right here, where this pivot is, it's also where it has a lot of trouble getting above it right here. So that's why I'm not ignoring this as an early PT, because there is an algorithm here and we need to be able to break that to keep going. If we do keep going, we'll come test out this bad boy. And this bad boy right in here, you can see gets tapped a couple of times right in here. And once it gets below here, starts to fight it pretty heavily. After that, we'll come test out the bottom of here where all of this has contention, the bottom of that daily, and then it'll go beyond that. And this is actually just from another daily, to be honest, another daily low, which is right here off of this failed two where things pivoted up from. So that's what I'm looking at for AMD as far as the strike price goes. Definitely looking at the 177.50. I really like it. You could get same day contracts if you know AMD well enough and you're aware of how same day contracts work. And this could be a really great opportunity to make some big money by doing that. Me personally, I'll probably shopping next week's contracts. All right. That being said, moving on to BJ. BJ did its thing today, and it took out, I think it was like 4 or 5 price targets, and then just completely reversed from there, giving us an opportunity to now switch sides and get into the 80 calls right in here. These spreads are not terrible. I would just adjust it the way that I've shown y'all in the past, lower it down to the 120 or whatever it may be at the time, and enjoy that. So the price targets are coming from the 30 minutos. This is the high of the day. This is the one before that. And then because of the range of what it could do, this is the next high that I can see it going to. And I don't really see it pushing up much past that, or at least I'm not going to be keeping runners in it much past that. Amazon, love the setup on Amazon. And if you paid attention to the yearly play that I gave on Amazon, then you would have taken out 1, 2, 3 price targets on the yearly play from 55 to 77. I personally wrote it from here to here, and that's where I got out of the play completely. It was a nice game. Anyways, let's keep that on this. Let's go to this Amazon. Perfect. So juicy failed to here, right? Nasty gap up. It tried to keep pushing, didn't have the strength to keep pushing, ended up coming right back down, filling the gap in every way, shape, and form. With that being said, going down to the 30 minutos, we can start seeing where price targets are coming from. Right here's the first one where we clearly are at a wall, even in post-market. Here, and here are the classic steps. Because there's such a big gap and range in between these two spots, I did go to the 5 minute because I wanted to see where are some spots that it could pivot from in between those areas. And then it's just some steps right here and then right here. Now, this one's a little bit more important because you can see all the wicking through it that happens. And if I put this right here, you can even see how we bounce off of it right over here to the T. So that's going to be a very important spot. And sometimes why it's important to zoom in, because then you get to see where more algorithms basically are than just staying on a higher time frame. Amazon, I'm going to be looking at the 177.50. I already know it at the top of my head because I'm excited for Amazon tomorrow. And I really like the price of next week's contracts. Next week's contracts are very advantageous. I think they're incredibly affordable for everybody. That's where I'm going to be looking at personally. BA is next up on the list. BA, I'm going to be looking at the 187.50, which you're going to be getting in the money in 5 cents after you get it, right? I do like the prices. If that's a little bit too expensive for you, you could consider doing 0-day expiration contracts tomorrow, but there is the risk that all 0 DTEs run with, so keep that in mind. With that being said, let's go ahead and go to the 30 minutos. This two right in here, and as you can see, the wall that it gets hit. Now, these all extend a little bit past that, but they don't close past it. So to me, I see the algorithm being right here as what we're going to potentially test, and all these being little false breaks. If we do break past all of this, we'll come test right here, then we'll test here, and then of course the low of the day. And this is just a classic step up. If you're in calls, you're moving your stop losses up to these areas, and if these areas never get crossed, you're not stopped out of your play. It kept going. Tomorrow, when we start coming back down, we could start stopping people out, pushing things into our favor even more. I really, really like BA. All right, Nflx. Now, Nflx, I'm suggesting a farther out strike price. I'm going to be personally looking at the 610 because I do like the delta and I like the price a little bit more than 800. You know, but at like $400 more for a $20 more delta to me isn't quite worth it. And I'm going to be shopping a little bit more farther out of the money, and the delta is going to be just fine. However, if you wanted to be a bit more risky, you could play 0-day expiration contracts tomorrow. You wouldn't even have to go that far out of the money. You could stay right in here, and it's a bit more affordable, even more affordable than next week's that are out of the money. That being said, 610 is what I'm looking at. And going down into the 30 minutos to find out where the price targets are. Some of them are like, they look very close. Don't get me wrong. They do look very close, but the difference between here and here is a whole dollar. Your delta is going to kick in super fat. It's going to take care of everything and you're going to be just fine. So pivot 1 right here and pivot 2 right here. Pivot 3 is the low of the day. And then we're going to extend past that because of range to right here, where even in post-market, you can see it was very, and in pre-market, very important area. And then right over here, even couldn't get above it until finally it did. And then the algorithm was broken and it switched. So when we come back down to this area, we're going to see what we have to do with the algorithm and the decisions will be made all over again. Right here on this two. So the next spot it's going to test out, which you can see it kind of test over here in these areas. And then the low of that day. I am kind of really looking forward to Nflx, to be honest. Nflx is one of my favorite tickers to trade. It is very expensive, but it has such vast movement that if you can get that in the right direction, just like a Tesla, just like a NVIDIA, just like these things that are higher capped and cost a little bit more, because they have the range to really cover that, and you can make a lot of money. And some of you already know that. Some of my students are crushing it with things like Tesla and NVIDIA, and I'm so proud of y'all. Nflx is something that I may, for those of you that like playing those higher end tickers, I would suggest checking out Nflx because I personally have made a lot of money with Nflx and in short periods of time because of the huge movement that it can have. Of course, keep your stop losses tight. Whatever that tightness is for you, respect your own discipline. PFE did its thing today, literally took out every single price target that was given after it was signaled. It was absolutely sensational. And we are looking to take that again to the downside. Now, tomorrow, if it crosses 27.63, I'm going to be looking at the 27.50 strike price. Priced accordingly, delta, huge. Love it. Really couldn't get any better. Now, this is one of the sexiest failed twos that we see, but you can see that we're coming up to this area that we just didn't like being. And you see how we wicked out of this area for so long until we finally broke through it. And now we're wicking out of it to the downside. So this looks very, very good. Only a few price targets on this bad boy coming from the 30-minute chart right here. We can see we wick off, wick through, and wick through in this area. And we're also doing it here. We're also doing it over here in the pre-market. So this is a very important area. Next spot right here. And then right here with some classic cases of just steps, as I call it, right? They're just stepping up. And if we're going to come back down, we're going to take the stairs. We're going to cross through all of these steps again. Getting close to the end things here with triple M or Now, has a beautiful fail two after immediately breaking entry and then just rejecting it, giving us a beautiful shooter as well with barely any wick on the downside. The 3 that's following it, we know is giving us a rev strat. So it's very possible that this thing is in fact going to go test out the lows, maybe not in one day, because this would be an extravagant amount of range for it. This is a bit abnormal. And of course, this is because of FOMC day, but I do see us coming down to at least around this area for sure. And let's go ahead and talk PTs. Right here, right here, right here, and then of course the low of the day. But I did zoom in. I did zoom in because look at this wick right here. This wick said, hey, yo, DC, zoom in a little bit. So I did. And look at this. When I put this here, you can see how it came up to this area, rejected it, rejected it, rejected it, finally broke through it. Right here is going to be where we retest things first before we come down to here. It just is what it is. That's just how algorithms work. Sometimes they're a bit closer than we'd like. However, I will say that there is plenty of distance on this to make some money. Plenty of distance on this to make some money, but you will want to be careful of your spreads. The 170 is this spready, this wide of spreads. I'd go to the 106, simple as that. Adjust my spreads from there. You're not sacrificing much of a delta, but you are getting way better spreads. So keep that in mind. So depending on what things are when it does break entry, I'll be looking at the 107 or 106 of next week. Definitely not same weeks. Definitely not same weeks for something like Triple M. And then finally, to tail things off beautifully is Tesla. I love trading Tesla. 170 is the strike price that I'm going to be looking at. I actually love the prices on it. You could, if you wanted to, go same week. However, I don't really suggest it unless like you are prepared to deal with the high percentage change if this starts going against you, because it's so inexpensive. If this thing like pulls back 10 points, it's going to be a massive percentage, but not that much money, right? So you just have to adjust things based on that. And why I will probably be shopping over here tomorrow. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive, but I'm okay with that. It's a little bit easier for me to manage and control. With that being said, this failed to is so juicy, especially off of this trend that we are pinching up in between in here, right? We're not getting out of this area. So it very much looks like we want to contest the downside of this, or at least of this all over again. We've broken past this one before, we're wicking off of it, finally breaking through it, immediately coming up and getting stuck around it and bouncing off of it and going out to here, bouncing off of this trend and coming right back down. We could come and break this again, testing these things out. Very excited for Tesla, starting things off with the 30-minute time frame, the 30 minutos. First PT is right here. It is about $1 away, so you're going to be sitting very pretty on that. You could put a earlier PT right here for those that are a bit more conservative, and you still have plenty of room to make some money on that. However, after this, I believe that we'll come test the bottom of this fail too right here. Let me get this a little closer. Well, it's way too close. Woo. Right here in this bad boy. I think that this is what we're going to come test next. Now, this is in pre-market, but I'm okay with that. I'd rather be prepared than unprepared. And I am well aware that this is the pre-market, but there is a shift that is happening right here in this area, and I don't want to get caught with my pants down. So after we do break through here, we'll come test this out. We'll come test the bottom of the 3, the bottom of this 2, and it will be a nice, beautiful movement for Tesla. So yeah, on top of that too, let's see here. If I do this, this is what I want to do. You can see how this is a very important area, right? This is a very important area. We've usually wicked and stayed above it, but recently we're not. We're not staying above it. And so because we're not staying above it, what is it more than likely saying? The algorithm has switched, right? Once support breaks, comes resistance. When resistance breaks, comes support. All that's describing is an algorithm switching. I hope this finds you well. God bless, guys. And I'll see y'all tomorrow.